Hello, everyone.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Take the Lead. We are live. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're here, it's probably because you aspire to be an effective leader for your team. Whether you're looking for some tactical tips, inspiration, or wisdom, you're in luck. Today, you're going to hear from 23 incredible leaders. We've got entrepreneurs, we've got CEOs, we've got the world's best executive coaches, we've got authors, all of whom have their own unique perspective and stories to share with you today. As of today, we had 2,000 people RSVP for the event today. Really welcome to everyone watching around the world. My name is Curtis Morrison. I lead growth at Bunch. I'm here today with Daria, co-founder and CEO at Bunch.
Hi, everyone. Extremely stoked to have you all and super cool to be here and to host this with you, Curtis.
Amazing. Daria, let's talk a little bit about what's in store today and the vision for the event. What is Take the Lead all about? And why are we here today?
It's a very good question. So the most important part is that we came here together today because we want to make a statement. There's a change in the world. There's a shift going on. So this is all about making a statement that the old era of leadership is over and there's a new beginning and a new era. What's different about this time? Well, the most important difference is everyone can actually be a leader. Everyone who wants to put in the hard work and who actually wants to lead, wants to grow and grow other people around them can now lead. In the past, we have often seen wisdom and insights around how to lead and build strong teams buried behind expensive MBAs and expensive executive coaching. This is now over. We are living in a time where we can grow, and everyone who wants to have access to actual leadership knowledge, wisdom, psychological insights, models, framework, mental models can now have access. So we are actually democratizing access to leadership knowledge. And last but not least, we as a society and as humanity understood that it's really not about quick wins. It's really more about the 1% improvement that you can make every day that makes you better 37 times at the end of a year if you actually put in just a little bit of work every day instead of actually going super wild and go to like long MBAs, 3-day seminars, and so on. So it's about progress, not perfection. And that really, really signs the current times. And we're super excited to share a lot of knowledge and perspectives from all our speakers with you today and to shed a new light on this new era.
Amazing. Daria, I know this theme is really dear to you. Tell me, why today?
So this is a really good question too. Obviously, this has been a mission, my personal mission since many years. I'm a psychologist by training, but also an entrepreneur by heart. And this is my second startup, third company that I'm building. And none of the other companies has been as dear and as close to me, just simply because what drives me is to see other people's grow around me. And I've gotten to know so many people throughout my lifetime that are driven by the same motivation. And I think we live in a very, very exciting time where we are able to actually grow and grow people around us in an unlimited way like never before. But also, today is a very special day for our team because with Bunch, we've been working on something very special for over a year now. And today, we're getting ready to share it with you. And I couldn't be more excited and also a little bit nervous, I have to admit. I can't believe you're all out there and you're actually doing this with us. I think this is an amazing opportunity to celebrate the future and to take a look and a peek at what will be possible in the future.
Surprises in store for sure. That's just one of them, though. Thinking about what we've got in store here for the next couple of hours, we have tons of great insights coming from incredible speakers. At the end, we're going to have a live Q&A with some of our guests. We got 9 or 10 of them that are going to join and answer questions. So as you go along, feel free to just drop in questions for people as they come to you. I mentioned a moment ago that we have 23 speakers that participated in this. We're super hyped about this group, not just because of who they are, but what they've achieved as well. And it's absolutely humbling because we've got people who have founded like 25 businesses. We've got people who have collectively raised hundreds of millions of dollars in venture funding. We've got people that have sold companies for over $1 billion. We've got people that coach the best executives in the world. We've got people that train Navy SEALs. It's an incredible group. The list goes on and on. So without further ado, I want to actually say hi to everyone who is actually going to share their insights today.
Hi guys, my name is Shahar Scott. I lead global business marketing here at Snapchat, and I'm so excited to be here with you guys today.
Hi, Take the Lead audience. Absolutely delighted to be here. I'm Jeffrey Feldberg, and it's always a pleasure to be alongside with my fellow entrepreneurs, founders, business owners, startup community, and the people like us who make the world go round. So great to be here and looking forward to helping in any way that I can on your journey. And I'll share with you some of the things that I'll reveal today and some of the things that you're going to be learning about in the Bunch Leadership Coach. This is what helped me take my fledgling little online learning startup from zero to hero. I went from a 7-figure unsolicited offer to a 9-figure exit, and looking forward to hopefully helping you all do the same.
Hello, Take the Lead team, and to all of those in attendance today. My name is Chris Schembra. I'm broadcasting live from beautiful New York City. I'm a former lonely guy, a guy who has seen the ups and downs of life, fell in love with the principles of gratitude, and have used the dinner table to spark over 500,000 relationships in the last 5 years. I'm the author of Gratitude and Pasta, the secret sauce for human connection that Forbes calls the #2 book of 2020 to create human connection. And I'm honored to be with you all here today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophie. I'm the CEO and founder of QNO Medical. We are a startup in Berlin. We are in the digital health space, and we help people from all around the world find the right doctor worldwide. And I'm absolutely excited to be here with you today.
Hi, I'm Dave Morgan, the CEO and founder of Simul Media, and I'm really excited to be part of the Take the Lead. Hi, audience.
Hello, my name is Lisa Besterman. I'm currently the head of program at Indeed's Global Incubator. We are the world's largest job site. Prior to Indeed, I was the founder of Startup Buenos Aires, which was an early stage startup accelerator in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where I worked with multitudes of founders, entrepreneurs, companies, universities to really impact the startup ecosystem in Argentina and bring innovation and opportunities to the Latin American region.
Hi, it's Matt Britton, CEO of Suzy. Thanks to Take the Lead for having me on today.
Hi, I'm Julie Winkle-Giulioni, author of Help Them Grow or Watch Them Go, and I'm delighted to be with you today.
Hey everyone, I'm Eric Huberman, founder and CEO of Hawk Media.
Yeah, hello. My name's Scott Paul. My company that I run right now is called Woolly. Notice I didn't say lead. I'm still figuring that one out, but I'm the CEO. So that is Woolly is a software technology that helps brands run advocacy programs. So I've been in the space of influencer marketing, ambassador marketing for over 8 years, and did a little time at Disney. They bought one of my companies in 2015, and that's where I really grew the most and realized what I wanted to do in the next chapter of life, which is what I'm doing now. So pleased to be here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Renita Calhorn, and I'm just so excited about the future. I feel like there's just so much possibility, and my work revolves around helping those tech leaders who are helping build the future to evolve and level up their leadership so that they can build those loyal teams that will help them grow and scale their companies.
Hello, Take the Lead. My name is Jonathan Skogmo. I'm the founder and CEO of Juka Media. We are a next generation media company powered by user-generated content. We have 4 offices headquartered in Los Angeles, New York, London, New Delhi, 220 plus employees around the world.
Hi, everyone. My name is Clint Schaff. I'm a vice president at the Los Angeles Times, helping direct Los Angeles Times Studios. And I'm really excited to be a part of Take the Lead and to share with you some of my experiences and insights around business.
So my name is Alex. I work at N26, one of the leading fintech players around the world. And I'm Chief Growth Officer there. Have been there since the very early days, over 6 years by now, and super excited to be speaking today at Take the Lead.
I'm Robin Ward, CEO of Founder Forward, which is a boutique leadership development agency out of Los Angeles. I've spent 20 plus years in the tech startup space. I've been an operator, a venture capitalist, and now I'm really focused and passionate about helping folks scale themselves along their businesses. And I work mostly with early stage, high growth, venture-backed technology businesses.
Hello, everyone. My name is Annette Franz. I am founder and CEO of CX Journey, Inc., a customer experience consulting firm based in Southern California. I'm so glad you're all here. Thank you so much for attending today.
Hey, everybody. Excited to be here, being part of Take the Lead. My name is Carter Ream. I'm the co-founder of N13. N13 is a venture platform where we invest in and build our own companies, offices in LA and New York City. And we have a big focus on basically, we built out a platform that helps the companies we invest in execute, build better, kind of using a platform approach.
Hi, everyone. I am Christina Weber. I'm founder of Deepen, wedeepen.com. Deepen is a network of interactive experiences and entertainment for people who want healthy relationships. Our mission is to improve the quality of human relationships and interactions now and for future generations.
So, hello everyone at Take the Lead. My name is Ricardo Marvão. I'm one of the co-founders of Bunch.ai. We are an innovation consultancy based in Lisbon, Portugal, and we work with about 150 corporates around the world, innovating around their challenges.
Hi, everybody. I'm Christine Hassler. I am an author, a keynote speaker, a podcast host, and a master coach. And I'm so happy to be here talking to the Take the Lead audience today.
Hi, everybody. I'm Terence Mowry, founder of Hack Future Lab and a global best-selling author. I write and speak about how to thrive in the age of disruption, and I'm super excited to
Terence got stuck. Sorry about that. We will hear more from him though.
Awesome. And Terence was the last one. Terence had some incredible insights. He wrote an amazing book called The 3D Leader. Obviously an incredible group of speakers that we've just gone through here. And we have a couple of special guests as well that we haven't even heard from yet. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I have a feeling you're going to be hooked. So Daria, you spoke a minute ago about leadership being sort of an intimidating term for a lot of people. And I think there's a lot of uncertainty around what makes a leader, and in particular, what makes a good leader, even amongst people who are good at it. So I think it's really interesting to see when we take these amazing leaders, what do they think it means to be a good leader? We asked them all, we picked a few of our favorites here, and here's what they said.
The truth is, I think what makes a great leader is someone who's malleable, who understands that the people that they're leading are all going to be different. Everyone has different motivations. Everyone has different communication skills. Everyone has different intrinsic beliefs and drives. And so really being a good leader is someone who understands how to speak with those people, how to lead those people. It's not a one size fits all. It's really about understanding your team, understanding what drives them, and then aligning people around this shared mission and vision that the team can get behind and that you can be a part of. I think that's really what makes an effective leader, is someone who can lead from within, someone who can be malleable and understand that everyone is different and leadership styles should differ based on who you are leading and how you are leading them.
For me, a great leader is somebody I want to look up to, somebody I want to follow, somebody who inspires me, somebody who fascinates me. Not necessarily, as the full person and this godlike picture, but I feel like you can find inspiration and you can find leadership in a lot of people around you. And this can be within your family, your friends, but also at work. This can be somebody who works in ranks above you, but this can also be teammates or somebody who works in ranks below you. So I think, leaders are not defined by a very certain strict set of criteria, but really is a human being who you are just captured by. And for some reason is somebody you really seek, their attention or seek to be close to them, because there's something that you can learn from them, that you can draw from them, something where you feel like you enjoy spending time with them.
It's always going into the unknown. And I think the only way that you can gain followers and build a business there is to be fully transparent about what you don't know, to explain why you believe in your vision, and to be able to create enough excitement and enough reality to it and paint enough of a picture that people are willing to jump in and risk their lives, their careers, their reputations, and take the leap with you.
I always tell the crew that anything you do is something I will do myself or I've done 100 times before. Being a leader is about rolling up your sleeves. It's about getting in the trenches with your troops. It is about really showing them and being there for them every step of the way. I think that is a good leader. I think it's easy to point finger and tell people what to do, but when you're showing people what to do, I think that's going to be the best form of leadership.
So I think leadership in the post-COVID-19 world means really focusing on generating serendipity and collaboration between employees. I think in a remote environment, it's harder than ever for people to forge deep interpersonal connections with one another. And I think that's key to trust, and trust is the basis of any organization. I also think it's important for leaders to really double down on things like training to make sure that people are understanding the skills necessary to succeed in this new world. If you think about it, without an office, you really can't observe or oversee as many people. And because of that, it's really hard to pick up those skills that maybe you didn't have prior. So I think the leaders need to be much more intentional about driving adoption of new skills and training.
The qualities of a good leader is somebody who studies leadership and relationships. The quality of our life is determined by the quality of our relationships. And when we are leading people, we have to be very curious about the people around us. It's not about us, it's about them. It's about building community. It's about inspiring others, bringing them into the mix. So taking ourselves out of the picture and realizing that our role is this desire to receive for the sake of sharing, to receive wisdom, time, knowledge, money, so that we can share it with others and inspire other people to lead with us.
So I would say at a very fundamental level, a great leader is someone who inspires trust. And they inspire trust because they're able to put aside their own egoic needs and focus on the larger mission. And so when a team senses that the leader really cares about them, that they're focused on something bigger, then that inspires trust in them, and then they're able to really give more of themselves. So that leader who's able to put aside their own egoic needs, so that instead of feeling fear, they're able to show curiosity. Instead of trying to protect themselves, they're able to show humility. Instead of trying to raise their own status, they're able to show compassion and empathy to connect with others. But at the end of the day, I don't think a really great leader asks themselves this question: how can I be a great leader? They're really focused on everyone else. How can I help my team be great? How can I help my company be great? My board be great? And so they're really focused on the whole ecosystem.
For me, the inspiring leaders I've interacted with, they have been unwavering in their faith and unwavering in how they see that future. And even if you have a bad day, or if you maybe doubt that, you have setbacks, you can look to them for their kind of steady vision for that future. And so for me, really hugely inspiring leaders have that sense of calmness, that sense of clarity on, we will get there no matter the setbacks. So it really is also a feeling that is, transported by these unique individuals, the leaders. And so that's, for me, one of the most important aspects or behaviors of good leadership.
We got an amazing breadth of different answers there from our leaders. I think it's amazing, actually. There's so many different things that go into being a good leader. I want to ask the audience, actually, what do you think makes a great leader? Feel free to drop your answer in the chat. I've seen a few people doing that already, which is amazing. And feel free to expand the conversation to your network on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. We want to make sure that you are seen and heard with your opinion here. As great as it is to sort of look at, where you want to go and what makes a great leader, Daria, I want to understand your perspective on how does someone actually get there?
Glad you asked. Actually, this question of what makes a great leader, what are the behaviors that great leaders display, how can you actually get from where you are today to being better, 1% better at leading and inspiring and building trust? This is a question that is very important for us at Bunch. Literally, it's the question. So we're a team of 12 who are obsessing about this question since many, many months. And I'm extremely excited to actually take you just onto a little mini journey to show you what we've been through over the past couple of months to find the answer. How can we help team members and aspiring leaders and managers of today become great and inspiring leaders? So before we actually jumped right into building something, as many startups out there, we have started with talking to our potential users. So we built a community of about 3,000 community members. So there are many managers, but also aspiring managers amongst them that have really helped us to hone and polish what we are going to share with you today. I just wanted to give you a little glimpse of what actually our journey looked like. So before jumping on and trying to build a solution for actually aspiring leaders to improve their leadership skills, we have started out with no code and very early hacky prototypes. To be fair, we actually used WhatsApp and iMessage and other mediums of just chat-based communication. We've run tests over 20 weeks. We've written more than 7,000 WhatsApp messages and iMessages. We've run 100 experiments, if I counted correctly, and we've been able to polish the experience with 65 managers, and we kept it very, very exclusive and very small. At the same time, we were able to retain 50% after 20 weeks. We started out roughly with 130 people, and after 20 weeks of the service, we still were actually with 65 managers, which was making us very confident and hopeful to continue building and to actually starting to build a solution that helps the managers, team members, anyone who is interested to improve the leadership skills to become better at it today. And from here on, every day. And before I go there, just want to make sure, are you guys ready? Do you want to know what we've been building over the past 13 months? Because this is the moment. We're going to share it with you. Woo! Yes. To see it. You ready?
I'm ready for sure.
All right, let's go.
What does it take to become a great leader? It takes inspiration. It takes courage. It takes trust. Whether you're leading yourself, a team, or an entire company, it comes down to one question. How do you inspire your team and empower them to do their best work? The knowledge is out there, but the wisdom of great leaders remains buried in the minds of experienced managers. It's hidden in books and scientific papers. Bunch changes everything. From now on, you are in control of your leadership journey. You can learn and grow in just 2 minutes a day. With Bunch, you'll get personalized advice that's unique to you and your goals. You'll get the tactical wisdom you need, the tips and secrets that have worked for other leaders all around the world. And you'll build a ritual, a moment of professional mindfulness in your morning routine. Because the key to success is not a 3-day seminar. It's to get 1% better every single day. Thousands of leaders around the world are already using Bunch to help their teams grow stronger, more engaged, and unlock the 10x potential of human collaboration. You can make it happen. All you have to do is take the lead. Download Bunch for free on the App Store to start your growth journey today.
What do you think?
Woo!
Woo! Super cool. What do you think, Curtis?
Amazing. So obviously, like, this has been an incredible journey. It's been a lot of hard work, a lot of user research calls, and trying to figure out really tough problems. But looking back on it now, the thing that just stands out is how incredible the ride has been, and to have 3,500 people along for that ride with us as beta testers has been incredible. And I'd love to sort of reflect on some of the users' feedback, Daria.
Well, I've got right up coming our users' testimonials, and I want to share 3 very special stories with you. I have to admit that for me as a maker, more than even a CEO as a founder, the most magic happens when we talk to users, when people actually give us feedback. When I wake up and somebody wrote me a WhatsApp message about, can I give you some feedback on the coach? This makes my day, it makes my morning, and I feel as alive as I never feel otherwise. And so thank you so much for everyone who's watching right now, for all your support, for all your tireless messages, for keeping up with not so useful tips to make them better and make them into a shape that they are today. And thank you so much for doing all this work for us and with us. And I'm really, really excited to actually share a few voices from our users that hopefully will inspire you to actually get the coach. So do get the coach.
The hardest thing I've learned as a leader is to give real-time constructive feedback to my team members as soon as it happens. I, by nature, like to be really thoughtful and strategic and process things and take my time with stuff. And I was getting into a habit of waiting too long before I gave the feedback because I wanted to give perfect feedback and I wanted to make sure that I was doing it strategically and got the outcome that I was looking for. And what I've had to learn is that I just need to give real-time constructive feedback, because the longer you wait and the more you try to plan out that feedback, it loses its impact. And this one is really nice because I had a Bunch update about a month ago that walked through constructive feedback, and what was the first line? It needs to be in real time. And that was an incredible reminder, and I got it in the morning on my app, and I was like, yes, this is what I need to do. Great reminder, and was super helpful.
Helping people to develop and to give tips and ideas, and always on the positive way. So I think this is the way to keep the people in the momentum, always sort of looking for more. So if you're always looking for the positive way to give a message to someone that is learning, it will look for more. So I think that you have a very good approach and very good ideas of organizations.
Is that whenever I have a challenge in my current job, whether it be with colleagues or it be like in terms of like strategy, I'm able to like open up the app and see how Bunch advises leaders to execute or follow through or think about. And that's what I love. It gives me another tool or resource of like learning. I mean, that's pretty much it. I use Bunch. I like try not to use it before I go to bed, but like during this like work from home time, this is like the perfect time. It's like before bed. And then like I read something and I'm like, oh man, gotta write that down. I'm a better me because of Bunch.
Sorry, some technical difficulties, but we got over it. Amazing. I'm really glad we could hear Cynthia and Amador and Brandon speak I just encourage you, first of all, guys, if you're watching this, thank you so much. I mean it. It's incredible to be on this journey with you. And for everyone else, if you do want to connect with Brandon, Amador, or Cynthia, do check out our community. So if you do not have an iOS device, namely an iPhone, we are working on that Android version. But until then, we are having a Slack community, which is very vivid and exchanges a lot of learnings and insights and useful resources where you can also find Brandon, Cynthia, and Amador, and many, many, many others. So really encourage you to actually check out the community. You can find it on Bunch.ai, our website. And yeah, really glad we got to hear their takes. What do you think, Curtis?
I think it's pretty awesome. I think it's a great time to unveil the special surprise around it, though.
That was, yes, okay. I gave it away a little bit, admittedly, but many of you actually might be wondering, so what is the business model here? What are these guys doing? Accessible leadership, right? Like, how is this working? So what does it cost me if I actually need, who I'm interested to try out the AI coach? So the special surprise that Curtis is referring to is that we decided, sorry, slides acting out, as always, of course, that we thought really hard about this and we decided that we actually want to keep the coach free for everyone. So the coach, as you can get it today, namely in the App Store, if you go to the App Store and you download Bunch, or you look for Bunch Leadership Coach or Leadership Coach or Bunch Coach or whatever else you prefer, you will be able to download it, and this version stays free. The reason for this is really, really related to our vision. Our vision is to make sure that every team in the world has great leadership. And the mission on the way to build that vision is that we actually can pick up everyone, whether a manager or an aspiring manager or a team member, and help them to improve their leadership skills, to make everyone a better leader. And in order to achieve this, we decided to keep the individual version of the coach free for everyone who wants to use it. That being said, obviously we are a business and we are a startup. And so we are working on a premium version that will be targeting different additional benefits, particularly targeted also at teams and team dynamics and your ability to not only lead yourself, but also interact on your leadership journey with others. And so this one will be then a premium subscription, but the current version that is targeted and accessible to you, accessible to everyone, is free for every user all around the world.
And speaking of making it accessible, Bunch is on Product Hunt today. So for those of you who know Product Hunt, this is where startups go to sort of show off their new stuff that they've been working on, and people can upvote it and basically then sort of try out new things. And yeah, we're number 2 in the world right now on Product Hunt today for products that launched. And so if you want to go check it out on Product Hunt, feel free to check out the page. You can also support us there, which would be super amazing because Product Hunt helps us to reach more people.
Super cool. But enough about us, because this is about you and it's about your journey and your ability to create the future you want to have for yourself and others. And so it's really about you and sharing your personal journey with others. In order to make it happen, next to downloading it, actually, what we have built in when you actually download the app are a few surprises. So the first interaction that you have with the app is actually get a personalized leadership profile. Curtis here is the explorer, I'm the maker, there's 12 others. So I highly encourage you to check it out and actually share with us which leadership profile do you get. By the way, this assessment is based on a framework, psychological framework that came out of Stanford. We've partnered with Charles O'Reilly, who's a professor at Stanford, and have further developed it, so taken it to the next applied level in that sense, and have created these beautiful 14 archetypes for you, which play a very big role in our recommender system. But the most important part is, and that I think you know, Curtis.
Well, the most important part is that not only can you discover something about yourself, but your team can discover something about you as well. Having this and being able to share it with your team is an incredible way to sort of connect and learn a little bit more about how you work together and why. And so as a little bit of a special extra here, we've actually got some amazing books from Ben Horowitz, What You Do Is Who You Are. And if you share your leadership profile today, and Daria just showed you how you can do that, you'll be entered to win one of these books. amazing book on exactly what we're talking about today, which is all about what are the things you do to be a good leader. So really great book. I can recommend it. We're going to give away a bunch of them today.
Super cool. So do get your coach, do share your profile. If you do this on social media, we will be able to track it and you will be entering the raffle and hopefully get one of the books. But moving on, obviously you came for the secrets and the wisdom of the amazing speakers and leaders we have invited. So carrying on in the program, and next up is the question, why are we actually doing this? Is leadership really that hard? I'm not sure. So maybe let's have a look. Which challenges do leaders actually encounter?
I think the hardest part about being a leader there is that responsibility and the weight that you have on your shoulders, because you're just not carrying their lives and their career and their financial situation, but it's also their family. And so when you ever have to make tough decisions for the business, for the stockholders or for your investors or for the good of the business, and sometimes you just have to let people go if they're not performing, if there's been a change or pivot in the business. I think having that responsibility on your shoulders could be incredibly difficult. And so when there's times that you have to make tough decisions, I think the toughest decision that you have to make is based on someone's career, and that could be letting somebody go. And so I take that responsibility extremely seriously.
I mean, I've been through a lot of tough moments leading organizations. One moment that definitely comes to mind is in 2009 when we went through our last kind of financial crisis. We were desperately waiting on payments from our clients. We were running very low on cash, and I actually had to put the company's payroll on my own personal American Express credit card. And then American Express found out about it, and they actually banned me from American Express because I wasn't supposed to use the Amex for that purpose. Now I'm back to being a Amex customer, but it was really kind of a humbling moment for me because we had a high-flying marketing services agency, and then to kind of hit a wall due to macro circumstances, and to kind of be faced with the fact that I couldn't make payroll was something that I definitely learned a lot from.
So earlier this year, mid-March, this is when the Corona first wave hit and everyone went into lockdown. I had my first baby, and that was the same week. And but what I knew was that I couldn't let my team alone, and I couldn't just go on maternity leave and not deal with the whole situation. So in the first week, when I had my baby, when I had my C-section, I at the same time started working again. And the sacrifice I made here was that I wasn't a full-time mom in that week, which I think is very important, and is a big change for anyone in their lives. But again, for me, it doesn't feel like it's a bad sacrifice, and I look back and I wish and I wish I wouldn't have done it. Of course, I wish I wouldn't have to do what I did, but also that comes with being a leader. Sometimes you have no choice, and sometimes your team needs you, and you gotta be there no matter what. So I think looking back, that's kind of a big sacrifice I had to make, but I made it because I wanted to.
So when I'm coaching leaders, the biggest challenges that I see them having to overcome is admitting where they're wrong. It's often very hard for leaders to recognize that maybe they've led people towards a destination that wasn't right, or they led them in a way that really wasn't for the highest good of everybody there. And so leaders have a lot of pride. Leaders often feel very lonely. Leaders often feel like they have so much expectation put upon them. So many people are looking at them to lead that they have a hard time admitting that they were wrong, not just for their ego, but because they think they're going to disappoint everybody who they have led, and then they're not going to be trustworthy anymore. But what I've learned, especially in coaching executives, is that when you can admit that you were wrong, or you can admit that you don't know exactly where things are going, which has been incredibly important in 2020, is for leaders to kind of go, I really don't know. I wish I could give you answers, but I don't know. And being able to admit that humility, that honesty is often difficult, but it makes such a difference, both to take some of the pressure off of being a leader, because leaders feel a lot of pressure, and to create more trust with the people that they're leading.
You know, I'd say through COVID, we were losing a lot of money, but didn't want to lay anyone off. So, you know, just paid out of pocket to keep our people employed. That's a big one. Consistent. You know, I don't know that I sacrifice any more than our people do. You know what I mean? I think that it's a fallacy. The risk associated with leadership or entrepreneurship and the burden, I think, is, you know, people patting themselves on the back. It's another job. My job is to run the company in a way that, you know, grows for everyone and is a great place for everyone to work at and does great service for our clients, et cetera. I don't know that I've sacrificed any more than other people need to. And at times my sacrifice has to be higher. At times I ask other people to make sacrifices.
Well, I would say, again, fundamentally, a lot of leaders are in survival mode. So once they've achieved some level of quote unquote success, they often start to shift into coming from a place of fear of losing things, fear of scarcity. So they're afraid if they have funding that they might disappoint the people who have supported them. They're afraid of losing key members of their team. And so their whole mindset starts to be very much on protection. And so what that translates into is being distracted, having FOMO, and not wanting to miss out on any opportunities and not being focused. So they're overwhelmed. They're trying to control everything, do everything, know everything, and they just can't continue at that pace. And so what that also then that translates into then trying to get their team to do what they want them to do, to take ownership. And because they themselves are not grounded, then their team can't respond in the way that they want them to.
Could you relate to any of this, Curtis, and you, dear audience? I hope you could find some examples, situations, challenges that also spoke to you. I definitely did. There were a few situations where I could definitely relate and could definitely feel what our speakers were sharing. How about you, Curtis?
100%. Like a lot of that, I sort of felt it. Especially when Renita's talking, it's always like it always hits me. Renita always gets me with her insights from other leaders as well. So I found that super insightful. It's always really interesting to hear these super accomplished leaders talk about the challenges that they actually face. And they actually opened up quite a bit and went a little bit even further beyond into not just what are the hard parts about leadership. They even went as far as to basically tell us like their biggest, most embarrassing mistakes they ever made, their biggest fuck ups as leaders, as we asked them. And it was really interesting to see how open and honest they actually were. And some of the stories were amazing.
Let's have a look. There is more. So as you just mentioned, Curtis, we also asked our speakers, what were your biggest mistakes and what did you learn from them? So let's have a look how that panned out.
I think the hardest part about being a leader there is that responsibility and the weight that you have on your shoulders, because you're just not carrying their lives and their career and their financial situation, but it's also their family.
Bear with me. Bear with me.
You have to make tough decisions for the business, for the stockholders, or for your investors, or for the good of the business. And sometimes
wouldn't be live if there wasn't a couple of small things.
Good point. All right. Give me 1 second. We'll be back online in 2, 3. Almost there, almost there, almost there.
For everyone watching, I'm actually really curious to hear, like, well, as we're about to hear these leaders' biggest mistakes as leaders, I want to actually see in the chat some people open up about theirs, if anyone has any stories that they can share. Mine tend to end up in our app as like cautionary tales, so you can definitely see them in the app.
Keep going. What are your mistakes that you wanted to share with the audience, Curtis?
A million of them. I think the one that ended up being sort of a Halloween joke for me, though, was when I was trying to really impress someone by doing some prep work before a meeting to make sure that I actually knew really how to pronounce her name properly, because it was one I hadn't encountered before. And I was in the meeting with this person. A big theme you're going to see here is that preparation is so important going into any situation as a leader. And in this particular case, I had looked up before the meeting how to pronounce the name. I had pronouncenames.com up on my screen. I went into this meeting feeling great, thinking I'm going to nail it. And during the meeting, I shared my screen and forgot that I still had this tab open. So there I was thinking, so prepared, really impressive, know how to pronounce every name in the world, indestructible. And I opened up my screen, turned on the Zoom screen share, and it's a page about how to pronounce that person's name. So it's pretty embarrassing, although at least not too much damage anyway. I was able to recover from it, even though it was pretty embarrassing.
I'm very glad you had this learning experience. And so let's have a look what our speakers have to share as well, and how their fuck-ups made them learn.
My biggest fuck-up as a leader dates back to August 2nd of 2018. I just landed after an 11-hour flight to Tel Aviv, Israel. And I was part of a 40-person excursion, a group of community builders that were selected by the Charles and Lynn Schusterman Family Foundation to go over and learn leadership. The first thing we did was we went out to the sea, and our facilitators handed us all rope and logs and barrels, and they pointed out at the ocean and they said, build a raft and paddle it out there and turn around and come back, and the quickest team to do it wins. So here we were in subdivided groups of 8 and no instructions. Well, I grew up as a junior Olympic sailor. So I'm good with knots and I'm good with my hands. And we had people placing the logs and people placing the pontoons and doing all those things. I grabbed the rope and I went around tying every knot on that freaking vessel. And I tied those knots so tight and I used my hands so strong. And we got on the boat and paddled out and we came back and we got in second place. But I looked down at my hands and they were fully covered in blood. And I couldn't use my hands for the rest of the trip. And what I learned is that that's my deficit as a leader. I'm willing to dive into any challenge to my own detriment, white knuckling my way forcibly into a solution. And I realized in that moment that I have a difficult time asking for help, or I had a difficult time teaching others what I know. I could have easily delegated and taught 10 people how to tie a knot, and we probably would have won the race. Now, as we got back to America and as we've grown our company, I've realized that leadership is a two-way street. Yes, you have to be a generous leader, giving in order to empower your team to be the best that they can be. But you also have to be humble enough to ask for help when you need it. There's no such thing as asking for too small of a task from anybody at any level of the organization. A CEO asking for an intern's help, an intern asking for a CEO's help. And that goes back to the humility that comes through gratitude. So I'm honored to have received that fuck up earlier in my career, and I'll never make that mistake again.
I think the prime example was earlier this year, where nobody knew what was going on when COVID hit the world, basically. And we, for example, we went into home office and we shut down our office. And one of the primary questions was, when are we going to come back? And when are we going to resume normal operations? And really, I didn't know. I by the best of the will in the world, I couldn't tell anyone. And I had to sometimes revise my statement. So in February, and I used to be a medical doctor, I used to be a researcher, so I was deep into the studies and the numbers. In February, I went out to my company and I said, Corona is nothing. It's like a flu. We will make fact-based decisions, but we will not change anything, and we will do business as usual. And then a few weeks later, I had to get out to my company and said,
I was wrong. Corona is a completely different beast. And what we know now kind of, forces us to take action in this way. And and just, now in October with the second wave and second lockdown, also here in September, we were doing really, really well. The question was always, how are we doing? I went out to my companies that we are strong, we are growing, everything is fine. And then a few weeks later, the second lockdown came. And thankfully, have to knock on wood, we weren't too affected by it. But I had to get out to the company again and said, well, the facts have changed and the situation has changed, and now we have to act accordingly. And I think that is very important, that you keep the pace and are super transparent in how you say things and what you say, and also admit that sometimes you don't know or you were wrong based on what you knew then. But now, we have a new set of facts and now we act accordingly.
Amazing stuff there.
I'd say the biggest fuck ups are when I'm very defensive of our people and our employees. And so when I see a client mistreating our people, I'm pretty defensive. I try to tone it down, but I've had enough clients that we've had to fire because of that. And every once in a while, my team will tell me they did everything. I'll go to the client and say, you can't treat my team this way. And someone will have screwed up on my team. And so I'll put my foot in my mouth a little bit and be like, they're like, what are you talking about? This is what actually happened. And so that very, 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 I think it's happened twice in the history of the company where my team, frankly, like either kind of misrepresented or lied to me about what they had done. So I went to the client being like, why are you pushing back on this? And then they showed me the evidence if I was wrong. I'd say that's the only time it's been embarrassing, is when I'm with full conviction and trusting in people around me and then got foot and mouth a little bit. Other than that, there's not much. I'm sitting here talking to you with a mullet right now. That's how much I take myself seriously.
Okay, I'll just give an example, and I think it could work. So a few years ago, we hired a person for my team, or I hired a person for my team, and after maybe 6 months, I figured that person was no good for my team. Basically the way that person was working just didn't fit with the culture of that specific. So inside the organization, I had my own specific team at the time, and that team was working in a certain way, and that person didn't fit with the culture inside that specific team. And I remember that I talked to the person and said, look, sorry, but I'll have to let you go. It just doesn't work. And I was very crude, and I expressed myself in a way that just gave him the insight of all the things that were wrong with him, that I felt were wrong. And then one of my co-founders was there and listened, and then he came back and talked to the person and gave him a second chance in his own team. And instead of firing the guy, he actually took him under his wing, and he became one of the best employees of the team, of the organization. It was just the fitting, that person wasn't fitting in that specific team, doing that specific job, but in another one, it was brilliant. And he became the best person in that specific job in the company. So that was embarrassing for me. And I had to, I was very happy that this happens, but I went there and apologized because of my behavior, that I couldn't have the foresight to actually put that person in another context inside the organization.
Super interesting, right? Being wrong about stuff is just like happens to all of us all the time, but it's just so challenging, particularly because I think a lot of times as someone who is responsible for people or for teams or for even resources and so on, you feel this like extra responsibility that you can't make mistakes, which funny enough makes you actually make more mistakes. And if you then also have difficulty admitting it, it's really, really difficult to learn from it. So yeah, super interesting. A lot of insights from me here as well. What's up next, Curtis, actually?
I was going to say, actually, one of the interesting things about this is how a lot of these folks actually have a story, not just about a really bad mistake, but also what they learned from it. And so it's an interesting idea that even like very, very accomplished leaders are still learning every day. So we actually tried to dig a bit deeper into what is it that enables them to actually get better every single day? Like, what are the actual things that they do to be able to learn consistently?
And coming up next, before we jump into the answer to this question, actually, is one of our highlights for this event. So definitely stay tuned, learn how our speakers learn, and more just right after.
I've been known to chase shiny objects, and I'm well known as a visionary, but sometimes a visionary can also borderline, craziness, where it's just like there's too many ideas, and I was at that state, and I was trying to do something that we just did not have the runway or the people to do, and so I went out in the desert by myself for a full week with no people, no technology, and I came back, and then simultaneously my team had also had the same discovery, but taking some reboot time, but led everybody, me primarily, I came to this conclusion that I can't chase shiny things during this season, and that I need to focus on what we're already good at and build a team around each other and getting each other to win, and not just trying to find the silver bullet that wins. And so it's anyone that you talk to in my company knows that was a pretty transformative moment for us, is that the visionary is actually going to stay in his lane, and he's going to stay hyper focused on a very old vision versus trying to invent new things, and that's okay, and that's hard for me, but it's actually the right thing to do. And so that was a change. I don't know if that's the answer to your question, but that's something that's very hot in my mind right now, is that I was able to, with the help of my team, kind of course correct and settle down and focus. And it took 7 days of pure nature to do that for me, unfortunately. So I don't have that time. I can't always reboot that completely, but at least my takeaway there is, if you can reboot, do it.
When I think about my personal development or my learning journey, one hugely important consideration there is that you always have to find the best materials, because you have limited time. So, if you waste your time with advice that's mediocre, or on advice from someone who's maybe a mediocre leader, then you're sort of wasting your time. So one principle for me is always to go to the top. If you want to learn about leadership, I don't know, read a biography of someone who you find being the most important leader. Also, that represents your leadership style. So leadership is also very obviously tailored to your individual preferences, and identify a leader that you can look up to, that leads in a style that's compatible with your personality. And so that's just one thing, is always finding mentors. But the other thing is also reading books, doing different things, connecting with people, but sort of always have that quality filter there, and ask yourself, is that the best advice you can actually get? Will help accelerate your learning journey.
Learning as a routine, really involves some fundamental behaviors that we cycle through and develop to the point where it's just automatic. We're on automatic pilot with those things. And so one of them, is listening, and really honing our ability to listen deeply on all levels, with the intention to understand. Asking great questions is key, and certainly fuels that. And then constantly expanding one's network to be able to have more fodder for those conversations, and being curious about it. When I think about it, it starts with routines and habits, but what we really need as leaders to do is get to that point where learning is just so internalized into our operating systems that we don't think about it, that it is how we show up, in all of our interactions, that learning isn't an event, but rather it's kind of just natural. It's like breathing, and when you think about it in organizations, the learning is the oxygen out there. And all we have to do once we get into that habit is to breathe it in and take advantage of it.
Challenging myself. How many of you are on a daily basis writing down what your goals are going to be for that day right before you start? At the end of the day, going back and asking, did I accomplish this? Did I do this? How did I do? What could I have done better? It's a combination of all those things that, for me, make all the difference.
Finding people that you believe in or that you emulate and following them. Now that we have this platform of social media, we have LinkedIn, we have Facebook, we have Twitter. It's really easy to and accessible to understand what makes a leader great and what makes the leaders that you look up to great. And a lot of times people share, these thought leaders share their secrets or their tactics or their strategies. And I think it's really just about understanding that we have the internet at our fingertips, and a lot of this content is free. Most of it is. So it's really just about, finding the people that you look up to, that inspire you, following them, understanding what platforms they're using and what lessons they've learned, and then try to emulate that in some way. But certainly books, I'm a big reader. So, books on leadership, on innovation, on affecting change from within is really important and valuable as it comes to leading. But the most important lesson that any leader will tell you is the best way to learn is by doing.
Awesome. I hope you could get some inspiration for hacks how to level up your learning through useful habits and routines. And I think this is a good moment to actually reveal one more surprise. There is more coming. I can't believe it myself, but there is. And so it's time for the next surprise. We promised you lots of goodies, and here is one. So as I've mentioned, we did launch the AI Leadership Coach today, and you can go to the App Store and download it. But that wasn't all there is. The coach is fed with so many leadership tips. And every one of you who actually starts their journey with a coach will get a different tip every day based on their preferences, based on the goals you set, based on the topics you're interested in, and of course, based on your leadership style. But because today is a special day, we have made sure that you don't miss the most inspiring nuggets of everything that you're hearing here today. And we've created special Take the Lead tips in the app. So if you actually download the coach today, you will be able to see the Take the Lead tips from the speakers that you're listening to right now, instructionally designed so that you can actually consume them in 2 minutes a day. You can remember them, retain them, and hopefully try them yourself and try them with your teams. I really look forward to your feedback because it's brand new, and I hope you can test it out, try it out, and let us know how it goes. And staying on the topic of product and content and how do we actually build a coach, as some of you may know, I spend some of my time in academia and science, and so the scientific community is very dear to my heart. And when a few weeks ago, someone in our community had posted a new HBR article called "Anyone Can Be a Leader," I immediately had to listen up, obviously. So I went ahead, I read it, and I discovered Monique Valcourt. And I haven't known about her, even though Monique has published more than 40 HBR articles over the past couple of years, and she is amazing. And I'm really excited to present one of the surprise speakers to you today, Monique, who is going to share some of the wisdom, some of the insights, some of the learnings that she's had over the years, not only being a scientist in the field of management and leadership, but also working as an executive coach. So next up is Monique. You ready, Curtis?
I'm very ready.
I'm Monique Valcourt. I am an executive coach and a management professor. I work with leaders around the world to help them be more effective in what they do, to be centered on purpose, and to learn to energize their teams and bring out the best in their employees. The most powerful thing that you can do as a leader is to have an unrelenting focus on helping people to make progress at meaningful work. that this is one of the most powerful motivational states that we can be in, is to have the sense of making progress at work that we experience as meaningful. So there are those two important components. The issue of meaning has to do with making sure that you're keeping purpose out in front, you're keeping meaning, you're helping people to understand what's the impact of the work that we're doing together. And you're also really inviting voices in, because of course we tend to experience things as meaningful much more to the extent that we are involved in co-envisioning and creating them. You can't really delegate meaning to somebody else and say, here, your job is henceforth meaningful. And then the bit about progress means that you are really in tune with what is happening in the work group or in the organization. What are the barriers? What are the challenges that people experience? And how can you help to remove or smooth those? Those might be things like access to resources or having enough time. It might be your own expectations are not as clear as you think they are. Leaders typically believe that they are being a lot clearer in their expectations than their teams. They don't get that same degree of clarity on the receiving end oftentimes. So I would say the key thing for leaders is that people are the pathway, not an incidental add-on to what they're trying to achieve. So a motivating interpersonal environment is one in which people have clarity about what they're supposed to be doing, that they have the support to do it, that they feel seen and valued, and that they feel a sense of connection to the other people around them, that we're engaged in some sort of collaborative enterprise that is important to us. And so, I think, like, for leaders who tend to be very focused on task execution and hitting deadlines and cranking stuff out, leading a remote team effectively requires being really intentional, a little bit more so in terms of skill building than it does for leaders who have high emotional intelligence, who can read and respond to social cues more skillfully. So for people that's not their, kind of natural strength, it's really important to think about, how am I connecting with each of my people on a regular basis? So it might be one-on-ones where you're checking in and asking people, not, is everything okay? Are you struggling at all? But what is challenging for you? And being open, sharing what's challenging for you, the leader, and how you're working through it. Taking time in every team meeting to have people report on, what's a win, what's something or there's this idea that I just was reading about recently of a rose, a bud, and a thorn. The idea of what's something that you're celebrating. A bud is what's something you're excited about that's building, and a thorn is what's some challenge or some frustration that you're experiencing. One of the stumbling blocks for leaders as they develop is the sense that I have to know everything. I have to always look like an expert. If somebody asks a question and I don't know the answer, I suddenly am, seized with fear that people are going to think I'm an imposter. So one of the ways around that is to really be a person who is, sharing your own developmental goal and then seeking either feedback. What would you, if for me to have been 100% effective in that meeting, what do you think I could have done differently? Or even more powerfully, the idea of feed forward, which is eliciting suggestions for what you can do in the future to come closer to your developmental goal. So if you say, I'm presenting to investors tomorrow, and what I really want to do is to be able to have them go away from the meeting feeling that I've understood their concerns and I have, closed that gap with them, that I've been able to respond to those concerns in a way that they find authentic. What suggestions would you have for me in order to be able to do that well? That's feed forward. And then ideally to close the loop and to go back to that person and say, I tried that thing, and here was the result. So there's one of my favorite areas of research is on what's called high quality connections, which are very, very short term, dyadic interactions. And in fact, in 30 to 60 seconds on a Zoom call, you can make a high quality connection with another person that makes them feel respected, that there's a sense of warmth there, that there's a sense of mutual positive regard, that there's some compassion, that you're truly interested in them. And that's an incredibly powerful thing to do. So I would say that, to work on making high quality connections, that you can even gamify that, like how many high quality connections can I make today? That is something that has a tangible and substantial positive impact on team environment. It's about being aware of and taking responsibility for the energy that you bring into interpersonal space. So leaders really can control the weather in their teams for better or for worse. So if you come in frustrated, aggravated, anxious, you're going to transmit that. Emotions spread just like a virus among people. And so part of the role of the leader is to think about what is the kind of impact that I want to have on other people. And ideally that impact should be energizing and enabling, not diminishing. That does not mean that you have to be a cheerleader continuously, but it does mean that you need to be listening, responding, and if you are struggling, that you can share that and say, and this is how I'm working with it, and I'm very happy to be part of this group. But to be aware that your energy has a big impact on the energy of the people who work with and for you.
Wow, so many takeaways on my end. Definitely a personal challenge to be a good weather manager. I'm sure my team can relate. What did you think was most interesting, Curtis?
Yeah, when she said that, it was kind of like a definite aha moment for me. I really felt that one. But one of the things that I think is so interesting about Monique's perspective is that she's actually very focused on like tactical, tangible things that you can actually do as a leader. And it's something we talked about with, I think quite a lot of speakers around what are the things you can actually do? What are the like simple behaviors that help you become 10 times more effective, even though they seem like really small things? And I think it'd be really interesting for us to sort of dive into some of the answers there, because they're really, really tactical, tangible, and actionable.
Let's take a look. And for everyone who does have similar takeaways, insights, ruminations, I'm sure many of the things you're hearing might speak to some of your experience as well. Do feel free to share them in the Zoom chat, in the Q&A. If you have questions, drop your questions in the Q&A for the Q&A session in just a few minutes. And also, yeah, be seen and heard on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Share your perspectives, really important.
One of the things that we do in every meeting is actually bring also the human part, even if it's just a little bit, which is how are you feeling today? Which a lot of the times it's just like we even say how you're feeling in a tweet, or write, because it's just a little bit. But maybe one person will say, today I'm not feeling so well because something happened personally, and we're going to discuss that, and we're going to try and help out if we can, or give a hand or something like that.
So, it's definitely tricky, communication and EQ in a world where we're on Zoom and we're not in person, because a great deal of communication actually comes down to body language and tone, and a lot's happening on Slack. So I would say the key is to make sure all crucial conversations are actually happening on video, because reading people's facial expressions and seeing their eyeballs is very important. Lots of conversations going wrong by a quick Slack channel or email, even text, right? So those should be Zoom or video first, your video service of preference, or a phone call. But I would say this, it's really easy when you're even on a Zoom to be distracted, to be looking at something else, or also be in your email. And this is the same thing, a corollary to when we were meeting in a room and people would have their phones or their computers open. The key to communication is presence. It's focus. It's allowing and enabling people to feel heard, not just listen to, and to not jump in with your thought, but allow them to finish and be an empathetic and appreciative listener, and then be in a co-creative conversation. And so I would say that what's happening is we're getting a little lazy, and we have all of these things that we're doing while we're in conversation, and we need to just really put those things aside and focus on the conversation or the meeting that we're having.
I think it's small things. It doesn't have to be always the big commitment, but you know, if someone asks for your feedback on a specific topic, or requires your decision, requires your approval, wants a meeting with you, just be very conscious of what you can and cannot do, right? So if someone says, hey, I really need your feedback by the end of the day, and you know that you just won't be able to, then don't promise it and don't do it, but rather manage the expectation to say, I'll deliver this by tomorrow, and then deliver it by tomorrow. So for me, it's really, you know, in those small moments that you build the trust. Again, with meeting invites, with responding to emails, with following up on approvals, these kind of things are what I was referring to. But naturally, there are also probably bigger events where you just reliably every quarter have a feedback talk with your direct report that's in the calendar. It doesn't move. Don't move your one-on-ones with people. I think it's those kind of things that I was more referring to.
We are a team that does a daily huddle every morning, at the start of the morning, and we actually list what we're grateful for from the previous day and what we need help with for today, what challenges we're needing to overcome. So the great Chad Pennington, quarterback of the New York Jets, once said, the only way to accomplish the big goals and the big wins is to accomplish the small goals and celebrate them on a consistent basis.
There is no playbook, right, for anything that we do. Marketing in a tech environment is fluid, and again, everything is changing. Our company is constantly innovating, so we have to also innovate. And so I would just say that the most important thing that you can do, because there is no playbook, is always reflect on what has worked. Do postmortems, understand tactically what went well, what didn't. Celebrate the wins, but also celebrate what you learned, what didn't work, and make sure that when you're trying something the next time that you probably don't repeat those same errors. So postmortems are just key. We do them for everything, whether it's a small campaign or a massively large marketing initiative that we're planning. And that way we are constantly able to learn from both the good and the mistakes that we've made, which are also good, by the way.
So every meeting that we start with, we always start with the first question: what is your intention for this meeting? And once we know the intention, everyone's intention for the meeting, then we begin the meeting after, because the intention has been declared and everyone is going to leave feeling fulfilled. And it's also making things special. We moved our experiences, they were live experience, into the online space. So each event is like that we do, we start off with music, and there's a countdown clock that, you know, gets people to know that when the experience is going to begin. And creativity, be creative about all types of rituals that you can do, and to make people feel special and seen. Everybody wants to feel seen and feel a sense of belonging. So those are really important to coming in and being creative when you're creating your own rituals.
And so for me, for example, to give some concrete examples, when it came to COVID-19, I said, you know, I'm going to video call 2 people a day with no agenda but other than to say hi. Because what I realized is part of what makes me a good leader in the physical setting was that I could kind of talk to people casually, whether that's by the water cooler or walking to get coffee. And I knew I had to replicate that. I knew that, you know, how I asked questions, the way I had to pause between answers in a virtual environment, cues, things like that. And so I thought to myself, what do I have to do differently in where I'm just a Zoom box? That's different than being in a conference room. And so I think the biggest thing for anybody when it comes to thoughtfulness is be thoughtful, right? Sit down on a Saturday, sit down early one morning or in the evening and say, hey, what can I be better at? What do I know I'm already good at that I can double down on? And then it's like anything, kind of what is measured is kind of managed. think to yourself, kind of what do you want to focus on? And basically every quarter, I have things as a leader I'm trying to work on, whether those are things that I've self-identified or, a lot of times I pick them up from kind of cultural assessment surveys and things like that. And again, at different moments of time in a journey, you have to have different leadership styles, and therefore you have to be thoughtful about different things very tactically.
One of the biggest challenges leaders face is battles for attention. 8 hours is only 480 minutes. 80 years of age is just 960 months or 29,200 days. My point is, it's never been easier to waste time in this age of overload. I think one of the big takeaways from the 3D leader is to have a no strategy. When's the last time you said no? It's impossible to focus. It's impossible to do great work. It's impossible to prioritize unless you have a clearly defined no strategy.
So many takeaways here yet again. I think they had one part in common, or let's say two themes. One is be extremely intentional about anything you do, from meeting designs to how you design your routines, to how you want to show up in a Zoom environment differently than you did in a face-to-face environment. But also, we all seem to struggle with focus, right? Our environments are very noisy. There are so many competing triggers all around us. And our next speaker has been so fascinated by this phenomenon that he wrote a book about it. And this book took him 5 years to write because it is a complex topic and we all are challenged by it. And that's why I'm so hyped and excited to present to you one of the highlights of Take the Lead, Near AI.
Hi, my name is Nir Eyal, and I am a behavioral designer as well as an author of 2 books, Hooked, How to Build Habit-Forming Products, and most recently, Indistractable, How to Control Your Attention and Choose Your Life. Yeah, so indistractable is a made-up word, and the beauty of making up a word is that you can define it any way you like. So the definition of being an indistractable person is a person who strives to do what they say they're going to do. Now, this is, I think, the skill of the century, because there is no area of your life that doesn't depend upon your ability to sustain your attention and your focus. How we spend our time is how we ultimately spend our life. And so it's absolutely critical that when the world is bifurcating into these 2 types of people, people who let their time and attention, their lives be controlled and manipulated by others, to be one of the people who don't do that, who says to themselves, look, I decide how I control my time. I decide how I control my attention because I want to decide how I spend my life. I am indistractable. So that's what becoming indistractable is all about. It's about following through on the things that are important to you, living out your values, and not getting distracted by all the things and people out there that want to take you off track. Yeah. So first we need to understand what is distraction, really. That this is a word I don't think I properly understood before I started this line of research. So the best way to understand what distraction is to understand what distraction is not. So think about what is the opposite of distraction. Most people will tell you the opposite of distraction is focus, but that's not really accurate. The opposite of distraction is not focus. The opposite of distraction is traction. That if you look at the origin of the word, both words come from the same Latin root, trahare, which means to pull. So traction, by definition, is any action that pulls you towards what you said you're going to do, things that are aligned with your values, that help you become the kind of person you want to become. The opposite of traction is distraction. Distraction is any action that pulls you away from what you plan to do, anything that is not aligned with your values, anything that pulls you farther away from becoming the kind of person you want to become. So this isn't just semantics, right? This really matters, because I would argue that any action can be traction or distraction. How many times have you sat down at your desk in the morning and said, okay, I'm not going to get distracted. I'm not going to procrastinate. There's that big project I have to work on right now. Nothing's going to get in my way. Let me get started. Here I go. But first, let me check some email, right? Let me check that one thing on my to-do list. Let me do everything but that thing I said I was going to do, even the stuff that feels work-related, right? Checking email, that's a work-related task. I'm being productive, aren't I? Well, you might be, but that is still a distraction. By definition, if that is not what you plan to do with your time, that is a distraction. And I think it's the most dangerous form of distraction, because what we're doing is we're allowing distraction to trick us into prioritizing the urgent at the expense of the important. So everything can be a distraction if it's not what you plan to do. And conversely, anything can be traction. So I don't agree with these chicken little tech critics that tell us that, oh my God, social media is addicting everyone. Technology is hijacking our brain. It's rubbish, silly. None of this stuff is bad for you. If you want to go on social media, if you want to watch YouTube videos, you want to play video games, great. There's nothing wrong with this stuff, as long as you do it on your schedule, not somebody else's. That is how we turn distraction into traction, through forethought, by planning ahead. So it's very important we understand the difference between traction, anything that you say is what you want to do, things that you intend, things that are aligned with your values. Everything else is a distraction. So now that we have traction and distraction, we have to ask ourselves, what prompts us to take these actions? Well, we have what we call triggers. We have the external triggers and the internal triggers. External triggers, these are the usual suspects, the pings, the dings, the rings, all of these things in our outside environment that can lead us to traction or distraction. But that is not the leading source of distraction, right? As much as we complain about those things, that is not the number one source. The number one source of distraction is not what is happening in our outside environment, but what's going on in our own heads. You see, most distraction begins from within. These are called internal triggers. Distraction, procrastination, not following through, it's not a character flaw. There's nothing wrong with you. It's simply that we haven't learned how to deal with these uncomfortable emotional states in a way that leads us towards traction rather than distraction. So whether it's too much news, too much food, too much booze, too much football, too much Facebook, it doesn't matter. All of it is about a desire to escape these uncomfortable emotional states. So now that we have this model, to answer your question, the way we become indistractable is by following through on these 4 steps. So number 1, mastering the internal triggers, understanding what is that discomfort, boredom, anxiety, fatigue, loneliness, stress. What are we looking to escape from? Then number 2, making time for traction. You cannot call something a distraction unless you know what it distracted you from. Number 3, hacking back the external triggers. Of course, these technologies are hacking our attention. That's what they're designed to do. But that doesn't mean we're powerless. We can hack back. And then finally, number 4, preventing distraction with pacts, making promises with yourself and others, using technology, funny enough, to prevent us from getting distracted. So this is how we become indistractable, these 4 basic steps. Yeah, so I think it would be that the antidote to impulsiveness is forethought. The antidote to impulsiveness is forethought. So fundamentally, when we talk about what takes us off track, I've been a CEO now 3 times, and the job of a CEO is only one thing. What you have to do as someone who's starting a company is just one thing: prioritize. That's all you got to do. Just prioritize. Everything else will take care of itself if you know what to work on first, then work on second, then work on third. When I talk to, I do a lot of angel investing, I meet with a lot of entrepreneurs, I can instantly tell who's not going to be successful by who can't prioritize well. And part of the reason people can't prioritize well is that they're constantly distracted, right? This is why I took 5 years to write Indistractable, because this is such an essential skill. And the solution for how to stop getting distracted is to understand that we can do things today to prevent getting distracted tomorrow. That's why I say the antidote to impulsiveness is forethought. That, you see, the human animal has an ability like no other creature on the face of the earth. We have the power to see into the future with higher fidelity than any other animal on the face of the earth. We can predict what is going to happen better than any other animal. And so all we have to do is to decide, how do we not get distracted from our priorities today so that we can make that impact in the future? And it doesn't matter how good the algorithms are, how crazy the world is, what's happening in the news, all that stuff. If we take steps today, we can prevent getting distracted tomorrow, because the antidote to impulsiveness is forethought.
Wow. Admittedly, when we actually did the recording, which was just yesterday, so it's really, really fresh. After I've talked to Nir, it was really a mind-blowing experience. I think he's just so insightful when he speaks that it's very, very inspiring. We have the first speakers joining live for the Q&A. Thank you so much. Hey, Chris. Hey, Alex. I'm going to stop sharing now.
Hey, everybody. Nir is an unbelievable leader, a great writer, a great world traveler. Is he still in Singapore?
I think so. Yes, he said so yesterday.
What a great guy.
Right? One of the first books I read when I actually started on the startup journey was Hooked. I read 2 books. I started with the 2 books. I read many more after, but these were my first ones. Startup CEO, whom I don't remember the name of the author, but was very inspiring because very tactical and very kind of like hands-on advice. And the other one was Hooked. And I was definitely hooked. And interviewing Nir yesterday was really mind-blowing. As all of you, though, welcome. Thank you so much for making the time. And I give it over to Curtis, who was hosting this Q&A session.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We've got about a 30-ish minute slot here carved out for Q&A. We've got lots of folks who were gracious enough to stop by and answer some questions. A little bit of foreshadowing. The last question that we asked Nir was, what is your secret advice? We've been saying for a couple of weeks now that you're going to get people's secret advice. That's probably how we're going to wrap up after the Q&A. So look out for that. It's going to be an exciting one. We have an incredible crew here. So if you ask who's crazy enough to try and have like 10 people on a 30-minute Q&A, it's pretty much only Bunch, but we're going to give it a shot. So we've got an incredible group of people, though, here. We've got Alex Weber, who's Chief Growth Officer at N26. We've got Chris Schembra, author of Gratitude and Pasta, The Secret Sauce for Human Connection, an amazing book. One of my favorite stories as well that we saw. We've got Clint Schaff, who actually is the VP of Strategy and Development for the Los Angeles Times and actually works with LA Times Studio. Pretty amazing because Clint, you've been working on a part of podcasts like the Dirty John podcast, which is pretty neat. We've got Renita Cowhorn as well, who's one of my favorite sort of leadership coaches and always insightful, has done lots of stuff with us. We've got Christina Weber, who has wowed me with her sort of like relationship wisdom so far and expertise. We've got Lisa Besserman as well, who's a longtime friend of Bunch, I think, through Daria, and is at Indeed now, before that startup Buenos Aires. I cannot pronounce Buenos Aires. I'm sorry, Lisa. I really, that's one I didn't actually Google beforehand to practice pronunciation on. I always get it wrong. I can't do that accent. And Julie Winkle-Giuliani, I don't know if Julie saw earlier people complimenting her articulate answer, but also the author or co-author of Help Them Grow or Watch Them Go. It's a pretty awesome book as well. So really, really good crew here to answer some questions from the audience. And what you can do if you have a question for anyone or just a general question that you think you wish had been answered in the session so far, just drop them in the chat, and we'll actually have some folks pick out some questions and share them as well.
I actually have the first one up and coming here.
Nice.
Can I throw that in the round? Thank you, Josh. So the first question to the panel is, as we come out of the COVID crisis sometime next year, very hopeful, it looks like there will be a lot of more hybrid teams, so work from home and office. What challenges do you see that creating half of the team together and half of the team work from home? What challenges does that create, this hybrid nature of collaboration?
Who should we give that one to? That's the big question. Who's going to get it?
We can open it up.
Yeah, let's do that. I feel like this is the perfect answer for Sophie Chung, but I'm putting her on the spot because she's literally joining now.
Hi, sorry, I was in the wrong link. Sorry, what was the question?
So the question was actually from one of our community members, thank you, Josh, who asked, as we come out of the COVID-19 crisis, we will see more and more hybrid work models, so work from home and in the office. Which type of challenges do you think will this create? And maybe I can follow it up with my own selfish related question is, how can we counter those? So how are you guys getting ready for that reality, I think is the underlying question.
I think that's a good question, but I think it offers more opportunities than challenges. I think the challenges were before COVID, where it was the one or only, or with a lot of restrictions. And I think what COVID has shown us is that it works, and that it can work completely at home. It can work as in a hybrid model. So I think, including me, so I completely converted. I was one of the people who was like, there's no home office at QNO Medical at my company, and now I'm like, I can work with that, and I can live with that. So I think in the contrary, we will have a lot of opportunity to shape the world of work the way we want it to be. And the challenge is maybe to execute it and organize it, but I think it's less of a challenge.
I'd like to echo in Sophie's sentiment in terms of, I think this is posing a lot of we had proved that we were as productive online or remote as we would be if we were co-located. And I think, there's a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of great things that happen with co-location, but at the same time, what we're doing is democratizing opportunities by enabling people to dial in remotely, by enabling people to live anywhere in the world that they'd like to live. And, rather than having these centers of gravity that exist, whether it's through HQs at corporations or, having your team in one location, what we're doing is opening the world borders to enable this new trend of innovation and to enable people to contribute meaningfully to the company, regardless of where they are, regardless of where they live. And we're essentially reducing those centers of gravity and creating more opportunities in the process.
I could add to that too. I work for the Los Angeles Times, very Los Angeles-based company, but I actually live in the San Francisco Bay Area and have for 2 years. So prior to the pandemic, stay at home, we're all staying at home to keep ourselves and others safe, especially our most vulnerable people. It actually made my work a little bit easier because now rather than, participating in a remote meeting with someone's iPhone on speaker in the middle of the room and I can barely hear what's going on, now the playing field is fairly level and we can all communicate using great technologies like the one we're using today. So I think for people, when we go back to a hybrid situation, I think it's gonna be very tempting for some workplaces to say, oh, did we miss the water cooler? Did we miss how we missed all these things? So let's go back to, let's no longer utilize all the things that we helped us continue to thrive over the last year. I think it's going to require to continue to stay committed to these technologies, even though, maybe half or three quarters of the workforce won't require them anymore. It's additive. It isn't a choice of either or. It's actually, it's better. It's the sum of all the parts is better.
Yeah, and I agree with a lot of that as well. The COVID situation really gave us a proof of concept almost overnight that we can do this and that it works. And I love the use of democratization because it has even the playing field. And yet when you look at like Salesforce and other organizations that have made the commitment to be virtual first, where folks will not come back to the office full time. They will, on occasion, but they want to ensure that the playing field is level. I think the challenge is going to become those hybrid situations where we do go back to a situation where some are inside and some are outside. I've been working out of my home office for 25 years. I've been doing this before it was in vogue. And so I know personally the challenges of, inclusion, connection, and the loss of that informal learning that just happens when you're passing with folks, you know, in the workplace. So I think that the second part of your question is, so how do we prepare for that? I think we really need to help leaders understand how much communication and how much knowledge sharing and how much learning is happening informally like that, and have them start now figuring out how to formalize and institutionalize some of that, so that when we are in different places, different meaning some of us are all together again, we've got a system to make sure that those who aren't are on the same page.
Awesome. We got a question in the chat here as well that I think is maybe really interesting for Chris, actually, because it reminds me of something you said to us the other day, which is around digital team building exercises. And I thought of the story that you told Daria and I actually about your friend who had the all day. Well, I'll let you tell it.
I forget which one it was.
Yeah, you have too many, right? It's the all day workshop that had a surprise.
Oh, yes. Ramon, that inspired me to bring back the Reflection Fridays.
Oh my gosh, I still can't even remember what story I tell, but I'd say some hacks for team building. If that was the question on what are some team building hacks.
In digital environment, yeah.
In what's that?
In like some that you can actually do digitally. I think that's
yeah. So we've been, since the start of COVID, our company has produced a couple hundred virtual gratitude experiences for companies all across the world. And what we find works the best is just acknowledging and creating the space to understand that everybody's going through something different. Maybe one of your coworkers is a stay-at-home mother who's got 3 kids and they've got a lot on their plate. If a teammate misses a deadline, the greatest thing for team morale is to give them gratitude, show them empathy, understand that they're going through something different than you. Peer-to-peer gratitude is the greatest tool for retention it's ever been seen in the history of the world. And if you could say that gratitude in the language that the recipient wants to receive it, that's key. It's all about empathy. If you are in a relationship with a bunch of colleagues, maybe read the 5 Love Languages book and understand that some of them want a nice note. Some of them want you to buy them flowers. Some of them want you to come over and walk their dog. Some of them just want a nice virtual hug or whatever that may be. So it's all about delivering that kind of team building energy and however they want to receive it.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. We actually had a question come in from someone who's specifically interested in N26 as well. So Alex, maybe you can chime in. It's always a favorite, actually. Whenever we have Alex on, everyone has lots of questions about N26. And the question is around onboarding employees. So as a hyper-growth company in N26, how do you manage employee onboarding in the new COVID era?
Cool. Well, excited to be here, and a great question. So in general, the onboarding remotely has worked surprisingly well from my perspective, where there are situations where people have not been to the office, a couple of months even after they joined the company. So key to that is obviously everything needs to be set up from a procedural perspective that it works. You have to send them the laptop, you have to send them everything that also works from a security perspective, and everything that we also as a bank need to consider from that perspective. But then sort of having the more structured onboarding plans ready before the people start, I think is also very much accountability of the individual manager. So it's really about, when you go through onboarding remotely, making sure that there are clear standards for every people manager, that the experience doesn't depend on sort of luck or the individual manager being more structured than the other. In terms of hyper growth, to be fully transparent, like the big periods where we were onboarding around about 100 people a month, they were sort of in 2019. So in 2020, I also regularly participate in the onboarding presentations, and the groups are actually of a size that you can get everyone's name within the call, within half an hour. So it's more like 8 to 10 people that join us every 2 weeks, which is manageable, where then you can really focus on a qualitative onboarding with each manager having having kind of clear when the person starts and what their onboarding looks like. So I think it would be, again, a new challenge if we went back to growing with 100 people every 2 weeks or every month on how to do it then. But our experience, at least in the last months, has been a manageable one where you can focus more even on on a very high quality onboarding. Maybe last note there, I think a couple of people would have expected that they miss out on all these informal opportunities that are so important to onboarding, while others have appreciated that you actually don't have all those awkward moments where like, oh, in a meeting and you don't know who the person is, or you get lost and you don't find the meeting room. So actually having a very linear experience where you have your onboarding meeting, your time to get up to speed was an interesting alternative perspective that I just heard many times from people who were onboarded remotely.
I can also chime in from a Snap perspective. I love what you said, Alex. It is about that informal. And one thing that we did at Snap is for new members that have joined our team during this time is also giving them a buddy. So in addition to all the trainings and the videos and all the official processes that they've had to really get onboarded through and learn, we've also given them a friend that they can rely on, that has been at Snap for a while, that they can kind of ask anything and everything. And the awkward question of where is the bathroom has changed to what does this person do and where do I find this, and all the kind of things that you just don't know because you're not meeting as many people as you normally would if you were starting at our headquarters here in Los Angeles. So definitely think that, adding a buddy to a new hire is really important during this time so that they feel that much more supported.
One thing that we've done is we have a multidisciplinary team. So our company is 10,000 people, but incubator itself is about 100 people, split between marketing, product, engineering, program, legal. So lots of different functions. And one thing that we've done that we've seen has been pretty successful as we've transitioned to work from home is standardize the onboarding process. So create a comprehensive doc that looks the same for every function. At least for the meat part, for understanding like what is incubator, what is Indeed, who is this, and understanding holistically who we are as an organization. So everyone has the same onboarding experience. And then of course there are, specific functional skills and tools that they need. But in terms of standardizing the process, it's been really helpful because previously it's always been ad hoc, like you meet with people, your hiring manager kind of takes you through the process. And so one thing that this has done is it's forced us to be better at documentation and creating processes that scale as it comes to hiring. And I think that's been really helpful in terms of ensuring everyone has the same onboarding experience and understanding who we are, what we do, and how to operate.
That's amazing. There's one question that came in now that I think is interesting from Brad, which is, they're all interesting. There's actually a lot of them. I'm overwhelmed going through them. But the question is, how has the priority on mental or emotional health of yourself and your teams changed your priorities or, interestingly, your leadership style? I'm curious to hear anyone's take on that. And maybe also Renita and Julie, the perspective of what you've seen from your clients as well.
Well, I think as I've worked with organizations over the last, 8 or so months, what I've really seen that's worked well are the leaders, the organizations who decided to really put the human being first and realize that all of the business is sort of for naught if we don't have whole, complete, healthy individuals. And so it has really been, humbling and inspiring to see leaders step up in ways that they would never have probably had the opportunity to do so before, had it not been for these circumstances. To see them really embrace the whole human being, to take into consideration the kids who are learning and the dog that's barking, and do I have enough toilet paper and paper towels in the house? To really understand and connect with people on a human level has been marvelous. And so, I think that has, and certainly some organizations have systematized that, but even the ad hoc way that leaders are stepping up and really connecting on a human level has, I think, been a game changer. And when we look back on this and really do our debriefs, I think that we're going to see that it was individual leaders making the decision to connect and care more deeply than they had in the past that will account for a lot of the health and the sustenance of employee populations in a lot of organizations.
I'll piggyback on that a little bit. I have a client, I've just seen people being really resourceful, leaders being really resourceful in how they're connecting with people when they're used to just coming out of their office and walking around the office. What are they going to do now? So one client, for example, is doing Zoom bombs, which I'm sure a lot of people are trying to take advantage. And she's also done something I think is really creative. She lives in Brooklyn. She has a stoop, the stairs outside the brownstones. So there are a fair number of people who actually live in her neighborhood. So she's been having these stoop meetings where she can actually connect with people, some of the junior people on her team. And she says it's wonderful because now they don't just see her as the big boss. She's another human being. They see her neighbors walking by. And so it's just kind of been a great silver lining to create a really genuine connection with people that you might not have had in the office because there is this sort of near professionalism.
So,
Awesome. Go ahead.
So my company has an open PTO policy, which is fantastic. Shout out to Indeed for that. And our leadership has been very vocal about mental health first and wellness first. And me as a leader, when it came to my team, I love to travel. And I essentially shared with my team, my philosophy is if you ever want to travel and take paid time off, I will always approve it. No questions asked. And so that was essentially my philosophy. Now we can't travel. And so previously, I took a back seat to time off. It was up to the discretion of the employee. I would, always approve of it. But now that there's been, this focus on mental health and well-being, I'm starting to recognize when my team is getting burnt out or my team is in stressful situations, and I'm taking more of a front seat approach to saying, hey, take a break. Sometimes people don't feel, they don't feel comfortable taking a break or they just don't recognize it. But me as a leader, I think as a way to be an effective leader and an effective team member and colleague is recognizing the signs in my team and just telling them to take a break rather than just taking a back seat and saying, I'll approve your time off. It's more of like, wait, it's going to be a stressful week next week. I see, there's some things going on at your household. Why don't you just take some time off? And being proactive about that where I never was in the past, I think that's been really helpful. And I think the team has appreciated that. And also taking it for myself. There are times where I'm just like, I'm burnt out. I need to take a day off. And I'll share that with my team so they feel more comfortable doing it for themselves.
To piggyback just for 30 seconds on what Lisa said, studies show that when you give employees unlimited PTO, they statistically take less time off than when you force 3 to 4 weeks. Yep. And what would be neat from an entire ecosystem perspective is if we could reward and incentivize digital detox days instead of rewarding and incentivizing. I know I don't mean to say instead of rewarding productivity, but instead of rewarding busyness, meetings taken, prospects talked to, whatever that system is, flip it. One of our clients, a great mid-market tech firm, literally every gratitude experience we do with them is in the morning, their time, and they give whatever team came to that, whether it's 40 or 200 people, the rest of the day off.
That's the story.
No emails, no phone. The greatest thing that I've done through COVID is I hired a phone habits coach. His name's Tommy Sobel. He's literally helped me reduce 6 hours per day on my phone to 3 hours per day on my phone, mainly by eliminating Snapchat. No, I'm just kidding. I had to throw that in. No, I'm just kidding. Mainly Reddit, and yeah, Reddit does me in. But yeah.
I also know Tommy Chris and work with him. I can vouch for the digital detox.
He's phenomenal. He's phenomenal.
One thing that Indeed did company-wide, org-wide, is they created these things called U days, where it's essentially one free day off a month that everybody takes. So it relieves the pressure of people feeling, worried about taking off or, just pushing it back. And so what they've done is essentially forced it on, in the greatest possible way. It's saying it's a U day, take the day off. It's, a Friday or Monday or Wednesday and once a month. And they're continuing this throughout the rest of the year and into 2021 as well. And so it's essentially a part of our culture now where we have one day a month off where even though we still have open PTO, we have 1 day off a month where there's nothing requested of us, nothing required of us, and people just take the day, and it's expected. Leadership does it, everyone does it, and it's essentially become embedded in our culture, and I really do appreciate that.
Which ironically is what drives creativity and innovation. I mean, look at Google. They have Google time, which means you can spend 5 to 10% of your week doing something completely non-related to your job duty. And that's how like Gmail was invented. Google Drive was invented. So it's actually statistically great for innovation.
Absolutely. Given Deepan's work, Christina, it would be good to get your perspective on this too, since it's very interesting.
Thank you all. I'm humbled to be here, and I'm learning from all of you. A couple of things that we've done. So we're a young company of 6, and I have emphasized that we are always in a state of practice. So that kind of releases the pressure from everyone, that we're always, every time we show up, we're practicing, and we continue to practice and evolve from that state of practice. We do, every Thursday, we have an hour slated where we do, it's team bonding / reviews. So we all go around and we review each other. And we essentially, Chris, I love that you threw the love languages there. Each week we also take a new personality or astrology or something that we throw in from the human design system to, we've done love languages, we've done Myers-Briggs, we've done astrology, and we learn about each other. So each of the teams, like everyone on the team is beginning to respond to how they like to be treated, how they are best approached. Like, do they work best I work best when I'm invited to speak. So in a room like this, it feels good for me when someone says, hey, Christina, what do you think? As opposed to me joining in. So learning that about each other has been really instrumental. And then every day in our team meetings, because we have team meeting every day, we always just even simple of starting off with the question of, how are you? And when it's on coming back in on Monday, what was your favorite thing about the weekend? So prompting them to have that more of like a facilitated water cooler conversation, so they can continue to team build and enjoy working with one another.
That's cool.
Just super quick. I know we probably have time for like 1 or 2 more, which is going to be very difficult because there's literally 15 questions in this chat. I'm so glad you guys have so much questions. It's really amazing. And I would suggest to continue the conversation after we're done with each of our speakers. Do follow them on Twitter and add them on LinkedIn, follow them on LinkedIn. I'm sure there's more conversations to be had. Just super quick before I give over to you, Curtis, there was a question around this phone coach app person that you both recommended. So if you could just answer the name once more, and then I can take that off.
Tommy Sobel, his group is called Brick, gobricknow.com. I mean, he was I think he was at DreamWorks before. He was, I think, Steven Spielberg's executive assistant for like 15 years. That's right. So just like high stress, high influence, high power, just changed career path, and is just dominating digital detox. And he's got it really well organized. It's a great program. It's a great program.
Nice. I think I'd love to squeeze in another question or two here. There's one actually that I think is really interesting. Do you disconnect? And if so, how do you disconnect? That's from Till. I'm interested to hear Clint's take on this as well. And actually Shahar, because the industries you work in, obviously very entertainment focused, because Clint, you're on the LA Times studio side of things, and Shahar obviously working at Snap. Like, do you snap on the weekend for fun, or are you sick of it by then?
I mean, yes, I've got 2 kids. So, I mean, they're a constant source of entertainment. And, for me, Snap is very different. And it's how I communicate with like very small group of friends and family. It's not my broadcast channel, right? So I know every single person that I'm connected to on Snap, whereas Facebook, LinkedIn, all the channels, there's people I've never even met. So it's very different. I do have a much more relaxed and kind of intimate view of my life. And yes, I Snap all the time. I spend probably not 6 hours, Chris, but just about. And it's also how we communicate at work, so while we are all physically distant, we feel together. We feel like we're in the room. talking to each other like we are now, because Snap just does feel like a one-on-one intimate conversation. So yes, I snap all the time, all day, every day.
Yeah, just a great answer. I also enjoy snapping and making things happen there with these the ability to communicate with folks. Yeah, for me, I'm always creating and consuming media. That's one of the fun parts about living in media is you can combine your professional and personal passions pretty well. But the way I try to keep balance and to not make it feel like work, because I shan't be working on the weekends and whatnot, is to kind of always be cultivating a diverse media diet. And that means like if there's something going on in culture or a political movement that I'm not previously familiar with, or an area I want to be more educated on, I will sign up for a bunch of email newsletters, follow a bunch of media outlets for whom maybe I'm not the target audience. And that's kind of an empathy driver for me. So like, for example, I'm not a woman. So I consume a lot of media that is actually purpose built for women. And I think it helps me understand my wife and other women in my life better. It's a great thing. And it's 51% of the population. It also helps my work. So the group of women. So I love that. And then in terms of just shutting down, I have a beautiful little puppy here next to me. And it's a nice trap to have a dog because you have to go outside and take your dog on walks every few hours. So it's a nice chance. And I happen to live close to the beach. So it's really good for mental health.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for making the time to jump in here. A couple of our panelists have had to just drop right now. And I think you've done an amazing job. We've got questions coming in still for days, probably. We could mess up your whole schedule, but we don't want to. So thank you so much, though, for joining us and answering a couple of questions here, everybody.
Maybe for the audience, we will be providing obviously a follow-up email with the link to the recording. We will also be posting the recording on our social media channels. And if that's okay, we will have to get clearance, I think, but we would love to actually include your social accounts in the email so that people can actually follow you, and then maybe have some of the conversations that couldn't happen today in an online way. Which we are now all in today. So I think this is a beautiful moment to say thank you for everyone who's been with us for these past couple of hours. Actually, it's been 2 hours. It's amazing. Thank you so much for spending the time to share your insights with us, to find time to do the interviews. Huge thanks to the team who's been hustling quite hard on our end to make it all come together and cut it all nicely, and so make it so that we can actually enjoy so many of your insights and learnings in such a short amount of time. We do have one more, which you're all welcome to stay for or go, obviously, since we are 3 minutes over time, so no pressure at all, just for those that actually do like bonus material and do not have commitments right after. We actually have one more highlight. We've asked all our speakers to share what their secret advice is with us. And so we would like to play this to you as a last bonus material. So for anyone who is interested and wants to get secret advice, please do hang on. And for everyone else, thank you so much for making the time and being here and enjoying this ride with us. Thank you. All right.
Now it's secret advice time, right?
Yes, now it's secret advice time.
This is a really interesting one because it's one that we've been asking a lot. And the idea is basically that we wanted to understand the stuff that you usually don't hear, like the deeper wisdoms that people would sort of ask or wish they had when they first started out as leaders, or give to someone that they would mentor very, very closely. So I think we got some really interesting highlights out of it, though.
All right, let's see.
Yeah, the secret sauce, and I'm going to be politically incorrect in a highly political correct world. I find that for me anyways, this has really made a difference as a business leader. And that is to be selfish and put yourself first. Take care of yourself. only do things that feel good to you. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, but if it feels good to you and you're taking care of yourself first, you can take care of everyone else around you. When you do the opposite and you put everyone else ahead of you, if you're not there physically, if you're not there mentally, how in the world can you take care of anyone else? So be selfish, put yourself first, do what feels right, and then you can support and love and help everyone else around you. And that's, for me, what makes a difference.
It's that nobody knows what they're doing. Really, most of the time I don't know what I'm doing. When I started as an entrepreneur, I had no idea what I was doing, and any entrepreneur that tells you differently is lying. You learn. It's like the Amy Cuddy fake it till you make it, fake it till you become it. And I think that's the key difference is it's not about faking it till you make it. It's faking it till you actually become that person. For me, there are still days where I'm like, I have no idea why I'm in this role or what I'm doing, but I'm going to learn. And it's about getting out of your comfort zone and learning. So really, for anybody that's starting out, whether it's in leadership or entrepreneurship or technology, or even just a new vertical, it's really about accepting the fact that you don't know what you're doing, and that's okay, because nobody else did or does either. And so that's the secret, is we don't know what we're doing. We're just learning as we go. And the most important part is to learn as you go, and to understand that it's through those mistakes and through those errors and through those obstacles that you're going to get the most valuable lessons.
My number one piece of secret advice is, and this echoes the Nobel laureate Marie Curie, who said, in life, nothing is to be feared, only understood. And the more we understand, the less we will fear. Choose courage over comfort. I want you to think about practicing daily courage. And I break that down into 4 accelerators. Number 1 is what I call challenger safety. When's the last time you spoke up or challenged the status quo? This is about return on ideas and return on intelligence. Number 2 is collaboration safety. This is another secret, which is really making sure that you remember that to succeed in the 21st century, it's about we, not me. Number 3 is about diversity and inclusion. Diversity is a superpower. Diversity of ideas, diversity of cognitive styles, diversity of cultures. And finally, speak up. We need to speak truth to power every day. My biggest secret is you need to feel more alive at work. As I said before, if we're lucky, we get 960 months to live. How alive do you get to feel at work every day? This is the essence of leadership. It's about elevating humanity in this age of AI, automation, and algorithm.
The most important thing you need to do is you need to walk through the door. So many people are expecting that someone is going to anoint them, give them something, and make everything automatic and complete and easy. And I think that those that have been successful have been the ones that have taken a step, walked through the door, saw an opportunity, made a movement through uncertainty, put themselves at a disadvantage or risk.
As you're growing a company, I've been in a really lucky position where I've grown the company from 1 to 2 employees to 220 global employees around the world, and realizing that problems are going to come up throughout the course of any business, especially when the business is growing, and not to sweat those small problems, because the problems that I think I used to really care about and keep me up at night are different than the problems that I have today. And that, understand that this is a marathon at the end of the day. Again, about the hamster wheel, sometimes we could just be running in place. And it's not about how fast you can sprint. It's really about your endurance throughout the entire race, about the entire marathon, not how fast you can just sprint, because there's always going to be different goal lines. And the goal line just keeps on moving when you have a business, and realizing that goal line and that finish line just keeps on moving. It keeps on extending, knowing that just sprinting from here to here, knowing that you still have another goal line from here to there, and understanding that it is a marathon at the end of the day. I think that is key advice that someone once told me that I pass on to folks.
The irony is that sometimes we think that in order to progress an organization, we should be a smaller version of ourselves, because we should follow the rules to get along and to move up. But the irony is that there's a lot of rule followers, and there's only if there's 4 people at your level and there's only one place to go, the person who is a mirror of the person above is unlikely to be the successor. It's like the person who actually has unique new ideas that are going to take it in a better direction, an evolved direction, are more likely to succeed. So from a competitive standpoint and a cooperative standpoint, I just want to, from both standpoints, I really want to encourage you to bring as much of yourself as possible to the work, and your best self. And we need you not to shrink in these challenging times. We need you to be a part of the comeback economy and to be like the biggest, boldest version of yourself. And we need it now. We need it always.
Yeah, I think the biggest dirty secret is that no one's that smart. No, success is a function of being smart enough, hardworking enough, and then just luck. And I think people hide that. Some people talk to it, but it's just, that's what I always try to explain to my people. We say this to everyone coming into the company. Like, I've stumbled into a 180 person company worth $100 million. Like we fixed things over time. We worked really hard. We are decently smart. Like, yeah, sure. And we timed it really well because of the market, but like we're lucky. We're more lucky than good in where we're standing. And so I encourage everyone, like, speak up when you see something wrong. Let's talk about problems. Let's talk about things you think we're operating wrong. Because not only could you be right, like don't assume that just because we've done something for 7 years means we're doing the right thing, and things change. So we might think we might be resting on our laurels and doing something that worked 5 years ago, and now things have changed. We're all working remotely. So we might have, and we've already thought through some of this, but I'm sure there's a process we have in place that made sense when we were all in an office, and now we're not. And so people are like, why the fuck are we still doing this? So those kind of things of like just trying to encourage my people to understand that like good ideas come from everywhere, including yourself. And so be open, like be aggressive, be confident, because, and also be okay with being shut down. Like a lot of times you'll run with an idea you think is great and you'll find out that it wasn't, and that's okay. Move on. Don't take it personally and go to the next idea. That's a big part of it too.
For me, I would just say, build bridges. Don't burn them. The most important thing is that you never know, who your old boss is going to be down the road for you, or someone on your team might end up being your manager one day. And so you never want to burn a bridge. You want to always build them, make connections. They are the most valuable part of my career, I would say, is the people that I have been so fortunate and lucky to have met, and I've maintained contact with them. And they've inadvertently been my clients, my mentors, my bosses, colleagues of mine, and future opportunities. And so build bridges, don't burn them.
Wow, what a question. So I think in general, one thing that stuck to me that I heard very early on in my life was, if you do what most people do, you'll end up having what most people have. And so you need to do something different if you want to get something different out of life. That was something that shaped me very early on. And one thing that I observe a lot with what a lot of people, most people have, is their philosophy is being what I call patiently impatient. And I want to explain that basically means people are patient in terms of setting important goals and starting important projects. They wait for the new year to come to set goals, and once the new year comes, they're then impatient in following through. After 3 weeks they don't see the results and they quit. And I think this comes also back to philosophy. Personal philosophy is don't be patiently impatient, but be impatiently patient. That means take action today, set your goals today, and then recognize that you need to be patient and it will take some time to reach your goals and to succeed. I think Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 10,000 hours it takes to master a subject. And therefore, you have to recognize that it will take time, you will face setbacks, but that, if you're impatiently patient, you won't be thrown off by that, and ultimately move closer to your goal.
I always tell people, do what you say you're going to do and be a good human being. And I promise you, if you do those two simple things, it goes so far. It is amazing. My brother and I, our first entrepreneurial company was a liquor company. And people would just constantly say, man, you guys are great. You actually wrote the follow-up email. You actually followed up to close the account. You actually just did what you said you were going to do. The same thing could be said at M13. You know, we've gone from 6 people to 33 people to 11 partners and raised a big fund, and we've launched 5 companies all in 18 months. And people are constantly saying, wow, you guys just execute. But what they really mean is we actually just do what we say we're going to do. And then the second part of it about being a good human being is I really do just believe along the way you need luck. But typically what comes alongside luck is people doing good things for you, right? And all of us, we want to do good things for good people that we know appreciate it. And it's amazing. We've had so many people look out for us in our journey, whether it was people like Richard Branson, including us in his book many, many years ago when my brother and I were delivering alcohol out of the back of our car, to I could list, you know, hundreds of other examples. And people always say, but how and why? Like, how did you get that person to do that? Or why is this person your mentor? Or why did this person invite you to this conference? And I honestly just always tell people, I think it's because we're good human beings. And it's amazing if you do that with no kind of calculating intentions, how far people will go to help others. Because at the end of the day, we all want to root for each other. We all want each other to win. And so for me, you know I could give some, you know, revolutionary answer, but I don't think you need a revolutionary answer. For me, it's all about kind of keep it simple, stupid, and do what you say you're going to do and be a good human being.
This is literally the best closing words I think that we could hear so far. Curtis, we are at the end of Take the Lead. Can you believe this?
Unbelievable, right? It's amazing. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This has been incredible. Truly an amazing experience for us. And yeah, so grateful that everybody showed up today to be a part of this.
So a few super cool last minute items, obviously. This recording will be available, so we will be sending you an email with the link. We've actually been streaming it on YouTube and on LinkedIn Live, and we will be keeping the recording around, so you can always check back, of course. In the AI Coach, which you can download on the App Store, you do have the Take the Lead tips, actually. Go check out whose tips made it in. We have featured a few authors, and we'll be featuring a few more over the next coming days. And we will be releasing exclusive feature of each and every speaker after the event. So we obviously, as you've noticed, maybe have picked bits and pieces and tried to actually tie it all together so that you can follow along and get a great level of entertainment as well as learnings, because that's what learning in 2020 is. We should enjoy it, but we also should get takeaways and insights. And so we will be releasing more material. That's what I'm trying to say. So stay tuned, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, follow us on LinkedIn, and we will be featuring each of our amazing speakers with more bonus materials over the next coming days and weeks. So you'll be able to learn even more. And thank you so much. From my perspective as well, again, thanks to the team, thanks to every speaker, thanks to every user and every member of our community that has been supporting us so far. And it's such a long journey still. I'm super excited to take the next steps with all of you. And do remember, speak up, step up, and lead the way. Take the lead. It's our future, so let's make it happen.